and welcome to the tutorial. Last time we worked on isolating all of these trusses out of the model and getting them flat and in the same plane here. So today I wanted to talk about in a little more detail about preparing these for a CNC and go into toolpaths a little bit. So eventually this will be exported. These 2D truss drawings will be exported and toolpaths will be created. So it's nice to organize things by toolpaths and score paths and so on and so forth. If you're working with a laser cutter, you can do what's called a score path, and the laser cutter will burn a line into your workpiece, but it won't cut it all the way through. So if you do that, that would be a good way to get these details onto the part. We're not using a laser cutter for this, but if you're using a CNC, you could use a different kind of bit and score these paths in as well. And so there are ways to separate these paths into two different layers, so you can sort of select everything here and then essentially trim it and then get rid of all of these outside paths, or select all of these outside paths and trace them or what have you, and you can get your outside path that way. This would be a pretty easy one to trace with a polyline. You can get it all in one, and then what you want to do is remove all the lines that are on top of each other, so that you get just these interior lines as a different layer. So what you might want is a score path. You might want to make some new layers, like a score path, and then you might want to make like a inside cut path. And the software that the CNC uses will do this too, but this is a good way to start thinking about your process, and depending on where you're sending it, this may come in handy. Having a score path and a cut path is really handy for a laser cutter. The curve for a laser cutter is practically minimal, so you don't really have to worry about inside outside cut paths so much. But with the router and router bit, the machine has to know if it's cutting on the inside or the outside to make the right size hole. So you can separate those paths. If you have a circle, the inside of the circle would be, or a ring rather, the inside of the ring would be the inside cut path, and the outside of the ring would be the outside cut path. So you can set all that up and essentially separate your curves so that you get them all on different cut paths. So what we could do with this one is, let's just lock this for the time being, so we can't select it, and then we can just sit here and trace this really quickly. Making sure to use your snaps so that you know that you're on the shape below you. Otherwise you might be drawing the wrong thing, or you might be drawing curves that are not coplanar, and if your curves are not coplanar, it won't work. And there we go. So that's one curve. So we could say that's the outside curve, and we see is going to work with all of these. So we can just copy that right on over and get all those outside curves. So what we want to do though is come down here and set this on the outside curve path, or outside cut path rather. So that's outside cut path. Great. So now let's hide that, and let's take all of this. Oh, we won't be able to select it. We got to unlock it. let's take all of this and let's make this, let's put this on inside cut path, and then we're gonna ungroup this so that we can select separate parts of it. Ungroup again. Sometimes it takes a couple times. Alright, cool. So now got all of that separated. We got this whole outside ring, so what we want to do is explode that. Explode. Or is that a group? Let's ungroup. There we go. Wonderful. So now what we can do is we can explode that. We can come back and we can select all these lines that we do not want. Delete all of those, and now let's see what we get when we turn on the outside cut path. That looks pretty good. So we got inside cut path and outside cut path, and sometimes it helps to make these different colors. So let's make the outside cut path red, and let's make the inside cut path yellow. There we go. Sometimes it's confusing because yellow is the selection color, so maybe the inside path teal, or ice as they call it. So that's what you want to do with all these, is put the inside on a inside cut path, which could also be score path. This would actually be a score path. If you wanted to cut these holes out, which are actually supposed to be doorways, you could draw rectangles here and put that on the inside cut path if you wanted to. Or you could just leave it on score and have it score. So really what we want is we want this, let's turn outside off. We want all of this to be a group again, so we will group it just like that. And then we actually want this to be on score path. And we want score path to be blue, not inside cut path. Inside cut path, you can remain black, because we're not going to use you right now. Okay, great. So there we go, score path and cut path. So the laser, if we put this on a laser, would cut the red line, and it would only score the blue lines. Or if it were on a CNC, it would cut the red line, and then it would just mark the blue lines, so on and so forth. So that's how you set up your objects to be on separate paths. This is also, so this is, thinking differently. Got to think in 2 dimensions and how this machine works. This is a short video. Next time we're going to start talking about how to deal with the hands of the model. So that'll be an interesting aspect. See you next time. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you subscribe to see more videos.